Hello everyone. Now, a few weeks ago, I made a video called Poorly Defending Dark Souls 2, where I honestly couldn't think of much to defend the game simply because I have a lot of my own problems with Dark Souls 2 and a lot less things to defend about the game. However, after watching Mueller's response video to H Bombing Guys in defense of Dark Souls 2, and Mueller basically destroying the terrible arguments made by H Bombing Guy, and going into great detail about the game and what Dark Souls 2 did wrong, I decided let's go ahead and make my own video talking about my own problems with Dark Souls 2 and talk about why this game is my least favorite Dark Souls game and why I honestly couldn't make a good enough defense video for this game. Also, I will say that throughout this entire video I will not talk or mention Bloodborne, and that is because Bloodborne is not Dark Souls. They are entirely separate games. What works in Dark Souls does not work in Bloodborne, and vice versa. I honestly believe that you should only compare a Dark Souls game to another Dark Souls game instead of Bloodborne, which again is completely separate. I will also say that this is the first part of a new series I'm making that will be alongside my defense video that will instead be focusing on the negative parts of the games that I defend, so that way people don't think that I'm ignoring the bad things about video games, that I'm ignoring the bad things about the games that I defend. I will do this for both Halo 5 and Dead Island, and whatever game I defend. And I want to make it clear that these videos are not me backpedaling on my overall opinion of the game, and I still very much stand on the points that I made in the defense video. But these will be a lot shorter than the defense videos, except for this one, because this one I have so much problems with Dark Souls 2. But it's me. The whole point of these videos is for me to focus, is talk about the negative parts that I simply couldn't defend. So with that said, let's get started. Now, I will say that there are some things that I do like about this game, and before I start talking about my problems with this game, let's go ahead and talk about what I like. So the first thing that I like about Dark Souls 2 is the setting itself, with the Kingdom of Drang Lake being a fantastic place to explore, and even though it's not as great as Lordran or Lothric, in my opinion, however, it's still very fun to explore, and looking at the areas in this game, with my three favorite being the Iron Keep, the Frozen Kingdom, Elam Lois, and No Man's Wrath. Another thing I like is something that was actually brought over to Dark Souls 3, that being the Estus Flask shards in order to upgrade the amount of Estus you have. I do actually really like this system over the Kindling system in Dark Souls 1. Also, the lore and story of Dark Souls 2 is easily the best part of the game, with my favorite being the story of King Vendrick, who was someone who was a powerful king, but Vendrick was human, so he was susceptible to the undead curse, and this caused him to be scared and trying the best to find a way to basically cure himself of the undead curse, but there is no cure. And after going to war with the giants and learning that his wife Nasandra, the Queen of Drang Lake, is part of the Dark and is wanting the Throne of Want, Vendrick decides to let himself become hollow. And when we find him, he's just walking around the room, not hostile and nowhere near what we have been hearing about him throughout the entire game. He is honestly like Gwyn. He's the Gwyn of Dark Souls 2, but he's nowhere near as cool as Gwyn. I also really love the hub world of Majula, which is basically like Firelink Shrine, but it is honestly a great location to be in, to come back to. The music is fantastic. However, other than that, I really have nothing else about this game that I like, so now time to get into the problems. Alright, so the first problem that I have with Dark Souls 2 is the healing system itself. And now, unlike everyone else, I honestly do not really have an issue with the life gems being in the game. However, I will say that they are so easy to spam and honestly make using the Estus Flask much harder. For some reason, Dark Souls 2 makes the animation to drink the Estus Flask last way too long, that most of the time when I try to heal during combat or even a boss fight, I get very unlucky when I try to heal with Estus Flask, which causes me to die a lot or get hit. And the time it takes to use a life gem is less and allows me to not get killed as often because my character is just standing there with the Estus Flask. In Dark Souls 1 and 3, it was very easy to use the Estus Flask when you needed to heal, and once you got the opportunity to heal, you were able to get your health back fast and instantly, and you were able to go back to fighting. But Dark Souls 2, it feels like it takes so long to even drink the Estus to the point where it's better to use the life gems during the boss fights. Something that was very good in Dark Souls 1 and 3 was the fact that if you got hit, you could heal and get your health back right away and get back into the fight. However, Dark Souls 2, the healing is instead over time. So if you take damage and drink Estus or use the life gem, it heals over time rather than being healed instantly. This can cause some problems like getting killed because of it. Now, I want to say in this video that I do actually like Dark Souls 2. I do actually like this game. I will say that Dark Souls 2 is a good game. However, it's not a fun game to play, and the gameplay is easily the worst part about Dark Souls 2. Now, I do want to make it clear that a game can be good, but not be fun. And I think the best example for me is Until Dawn, because that game is actually really good. I do really like that game. However, gameplay-wise, it sucks, and really the reason for that is Until Dawn can get away with this, really because it's kind of like an interactive movie, where like you just decide if a character stays alive or not. However, a game and a franchise like Dark Souls, the gameplay is a big part of the game, to the point where that's the thing most focused on when it comes to this game. I will say that the story of the Souls games are fantastic, Dark Souls 2 being no exception. I love the stories. I love the story in the Dark Souls games, and they're honestly my favorite ever made, but probably second favorite behind We Happy Few. But the way it's told is, I like the way it's told, but I don't think it would work in any other game. Like, it works well in Dark Souls, but any other game I think it would suck. But if people don't really pay attention, if people don't go looking for it, the gameplay is really what they will focus on, and the gameplay is not fun in this game. The first issue I have with the gameplay is a problem that I feel like only I have, where it feels like you swing the weapons slower in Dark Souls 2, and the enemies swing their weapons faster. Again, this might just be a problem for me, but this is something that I feel like the game has. However, something that isn't just me is the rolling in Dark Souls 2. The rolling in Dark Souls 2 is honestly so bad that for the longest time, I honestly thought it was broken. While playing as the character I'm playing as, who I named Eric Cartman, so many times I thought that the rolling was broken. Even when I rolled at the right time, I would still get hit and even killed sometimes. However, I didn't realize that there was a skill for this called ADP, and would cause you not to get hit when you rolled until after I fought the Looking Glass Knight when I was watching Mueller's video about the game. Now, I have upgraded ADP during my playthrough, and now when I roll I do not get hit. However, that doesn't excuse the fact that there's a skill tree for you to put points in, and because I didn't know about this, because the game didn't tell you, I honestly thought rolling was broken for most of the game. Also, next is the biggest problem with the gameplay when it comes to Dark Souls, and that is the terrible hitboxes in this game. Now, a franchise like Dark Souls, the hitboxes are very important because it can either let you win or lose in a fight. And Dark Souls 2 having terrible hitboxes makes this game a chore sometimes and even feel unfair. What makes Dark Souls such a great game and great franchise is the fact that the game is very hard, but it's fair. And most of the time it can be the player's fault because they didn't read their opponent, or they got too greedy and the game punishes you for your mistakes. However, Dark Souls 2 instead punishes you for doing things correctly. Well, I eventually learned about ADP and was able to fix the rolling and the hitboxes. Like, with that, the hitboxes are something that I've never got used to and would get hit and killed so many times because the hitboxes are so bad. There's been many times where I've definitely rolled out of the way at the perfect time. I shouldn't have gotten hit, but because the hitbox, I would be teleported to the enemy's grab and would get hit or even killed. The thing is, with the case of me thinking that the rolling in the game was broken, there was a part of me where I was like, well, it could have been my fault. Maybe I rolled at the wrong time. However, the hitboxes are something that I cannot say is my fault, because I would get hit in moments where I shouldn't have, or even get hit, or they wouldn't hit me somehow. And yeah, that could be a good thing for me because I didn't get hit, but that doesn't mean that I like basically given opportunity of not getting hit when I should have. Again, when I say that Dark Souls 2 is a good game, I mean the story and setting wise. However, the gameplay is not fun. It really brings this game down and makes it very frustrating while playing this game. And this doesn't even include the amount of ambushes, or as Mueller said in his video about it, the spam bushes, which cause even more frustration and makes you feel like this game is even more unfair, and Dark Souls games should not feel unfair, when the whole point of these games is, yes, it's very hard, but it's fair to the point where if you are killed, it's fair to say that you did something wrong instead of the game. Also, something I will say finishing this whole section off, the PvP still sucks. The fact that people say that Dark Souls 2 has the best PvP, I don't really know how to feel about that, because I swear I get like invaded every 5 minutes and it's really annoying, and this whole system sucks. So a big part of Dark Souls 2 gameplay is because you have the undead curse, every time you die you hollow a little bit more and more, and you lose more of your health. I'm sorry, why is this a function in Dark Souls 2? I honestly cannot understand the decision to have the system that punishes the player for dying by losing your health in a franchise that is known for the difficulty in dying over and over again. Dark Souls 1 honestly already did this. It did it fine. When you died, you became undead, and if you were undead, you cannot be invaded, you cannot summon, and like it worked very fine. However, you kept your full health and you weren't punished because of you dying in a game that is known for its difficulty and even has the tagline, prepare to die. This game did give us human effigies in order to get our full health back, but why not just let us keep the amount of health we have? Losing souls is punishment enough. I don't need to be punished even more by losing health. Also, there's a ring called the Ring of Binding, which lowers how much health is lost when hollowing, so why not just get rid of this system? And the fact that even when you're not human, you can still be invaded, which makes it really frustrating, because it feels like, again, I cannot walk 5 minutes without being invaded by an NPC or player. Like, honestly, screw this system, I hate it. I'm so happy they did not bring it back. Now, I talked about this in my Poorly Defending Dark Souls 2 video, that I honestly don't like the bosses that are in this game. Most of the bosses in this game are honestly not fun or even challenging to fight in this game, and I don't even get the same satisfaction when I defeat a boss in this game compared to Dark Souls 1 and 3. Now, do not get me wrong, there are some bosses that I do like in this game, like the first Dragon Rider boss that you fight in the game, even though you fight two of them in Dragon Lake Castle and they are somehow weaker for being later in the game. Also, my favorite boss in this game is the Ivory King in Elon Loy's DLC, which is my favorite DLC in the game, if not just for the snow itself. However, even during his fight, there is spamming with the knights, non-stop spamming, and having to take them out it gets really annoying. And bringing up how bad the healing system is again, and how slow it is, can cause you to be killed, because sometimes you are trying to heal and it's more because how slow your character is moving, except of the difficulty. Both Dark Souls 1 and 3 have hard bosses. However, you're still able to heal when you get an opportunity. Like, for example, even though Dark Souls 1 with Ornstein and Schmo, and Dark Souls 3 with Sister Frieda and Father Ariandel, both fights are extremely hard. However, you're still able to heal and get your health back when you time it right, and you get instantly able to keep fighting. However, Dark Souls 2, Estus Flask takes so long to heal and heals over time, and it's honestly better just to use life gems to heal, because they are quicker to use. But going back to the bosses of Dark Souls 2, they are honestly not even that fun to fight, and combine this with the terrible hitboxes, it makes the game feel unfair a lot. Now I do like some of the bosses in this game again, and I will most likely make a list of my 10 favorite Dark Souls 2 bosses, because I am planning on doing this already with Dark Souls 1 and 3, but they're still not great. Now, unlike many people, I have never played the original release of Dark Souls 2. I was introduced to Dark Souls 2 by Scholar of the First Sin, so I do not have any experience on what Scholar of the First Sin changed. However, the DLCs in Dark Souls 2 are honestly a hit or miss for me. This one would be short, but the Elon Lois DLC is my favorite. It has to be my favorite. It has my favorite boss in the entire game, the Ivory King. While the Crown of the Sunken King, I really don't like that DLC, and the best part of the Crown of the Old Iron King is the final boss of that DLC. So not much to say on this, except for the Crown of the Ivory King, I'm honestly disappointed by this DLC. Now, I will say that even though I do like this game, for the story and the setting and the lore and the characters, everything else about it honestly really sucks. I really dislike. And that is a shame, because I do want to love this game as much as Dark Souls 1 and 3. I wish I could have had more things to defend about this game. I wish that the game was a lot better than it is. I've tried really hard to really like this game. I've been playing through it again, and I will most likely play through it a lot more, simply because it's Dark Souls. But I really cannot. I've tried really hard to really like this game, but I simply can't, because how much is wrong with this game. Dark Souls is honestly my favorite franchise, and I would even say that I like Dark Souls more than Bloodborne, actually. I might make a video explaining why I like Dark Souls more, even with Dark Souls 2 being the weakest in the series. I do like Dark Souls 2, and I will say it's a good game. And I will always say it's a good game. Except if you look at the gameplay and everything else other than the story, the setting, the lore, and the characters. The game is just not fun to play. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I'm really proud of this video. And I'll remind everyone that most videos in this new series would not be this long. And I will still stand by what I say in my defense videos, which I'm honestly the most proud of. Those videos are the videos that I honestly prefer making over any other kind of video. It's just they take longer, because I gotta write a script for them, so it takes longer. So with that said, see you all later.